over a year ago, our TRIO program at IPFW initiated an innovative project with its first-gen college students. We asked TRIO SSS students to tell us in short stories what it was like being the first person in their family in college, what struggles and barriers they had faced, and how they had managed to overcome those barriers. These students surprised even us. Over the course of months, students participated in writing circles and began not only to tell their stories, but they also began writing their stories to share with others. The result of this project is what we're here to celebrate today. Together, 20 students and 3 staff members wrote personal narratives about their experiences being the first in their family to go to college. This newly published book, Every Student Has a Story, is a collection of those powerful essays. As a part of this project, students chose to write about many different experiences, from trouble choosing a major to family tragedies and everything in between. Their stories are not unique. First-generation students often face a number of serious barriers in their journeys towards education, including financial constraints, informational barriers, cultural adjustments, self-doubt and anxiety, and work and familial responsibilities. Yet despite all of these challenges, first-generation students at IPFW are thriving, and they are continuing to be a substantial and vibrant community of dedicated students. With over half of IPFW's current population identifying as first-gen, this project has significant meaning to TRIO, to IPFW, and to our entire community, making IPFW a conduit for social mobility, helping first-generation students in our community get their degrees. This is life-changing, family-changing, and community-changing work. It is truly our hope that in sharing these stories, others will become more aware of the external pressures and issues that face many first-generation college students during their journeys towards graduation. But also we hope that these stories will inspire other students facing similar struggles to keep up the fight. Thank you all so much for attending today. We hope you enjoy this book as much as we have enjoyed putting it together. Now I would like to officially introduce our authors. So as I read the authors' names, if you could stand, please. Gladys Calderón. Lorenzo Catalan. Kristen Costello. Amber Davenport. Miranda Hall. Marty Herrick. Tiffany Lackey. Brianna Renee Putt. Gabriella Romo. Emily Salisbury. Cherry Thu. Abigail Wiegand. Buck Jordan. And Karen Lenfesty. Could you all give them a round of applause? Thank you. You guys can be seated. I want to mention, too, we had several students who were not able to attend, so I'm just going to very shortly read through their names, too. Gilchrist Richie Avaya, Andrew Becker, Male Collier, Colby Fly, Britton Fryer, Taylor Henderson, Joe Kreisen, and Johnny West. For the formal part of our presentation, we would like for you to hear a few of the stories that some of our students have written, and several of them were willing to get up here on stage and actually read them to you. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first student reader, Lorenzo Catalan. Lorenzo is a biology major. He's a are you a freshman, officially freshman? Sophomore? He's officially sophomore status now, and his story is called Survival of the Fittest. Help me in joining Lorenzo.
Hi. Okay. Survival of the Fittest by me. Where I'm from, some people don't make it. When I was younger, people would tell me that I'd be dead or in jail in a few years, and I thought that I never thought that my neighborhood was a bad place until I realized that crime like that didn't happen everywhere. When I saw the effects of the environment, hanging out with people in gangs, committing crimes, selling drugs, and using drugs, take a toll on my brother, I just knew I needed to escape. I needed better. While I was in 7th grade, an event changed my life. I was watching a Tyler Perry movie, one where one of the kids was dealing drugs, something went wrong, and he was shot in the alley. During that part of the movie, it hit me. Almost as if the bullet had come through the TV and ripped through my skin. I thought to myself, why is this so emotional for me? It's just a movie. Like, yeah, Tyler Perry makes good movies, but dang, it's not even that deep. About 10 minutes later, there was a knock at the door, and there was a kid about my age who said, "Aren't you blank's brother?" I replied, "Yeah, why?" "Your brother was just shot, and he's in an ambulance on his way to the hospital right now." I felt as if I had an out-of-body experience, and I was looking down on myself, wondering what was happening. My brother and I were close, as both of our fathers had abandoned their posts. He was my role model. I just had seen him that day. Could he really be gone? Later, my mom and I went to the hospital to visit him, but he wasn't the brother I knew. That brother was invincible, and no one could hurt him. This kid here, I couldn't even breathe on his own, and he looked like he only had a few more breaths left in him. If the monitor was not letting me know his heart was beating, I would have thought he was dead. From the very moment looking at him in the hospital bed, with only inches of life left, I knew I needed an escape. I needed better. That's when I decided to go to college. Fast forwarding 5 years. My very first week on campus was amazing. There were events to get to know other students, and since I'm a social creature, I was thriving. I was absolutely loving it here. Every day there was something new to do. Yes, I went to class, but I didn't come back to my dorm and do my homework like I should have. It felt just like high school, with more fun and more freedom. I hung out with my friends every day and avoided my obligations. Growing up as a low-income student, there were a lot of things that I went without, and being in college, there were opportunities to have those things. For example, as stupid as this is, it really did set me back. At the library, you could check out a laptop or an iPad. I checked out an iPad because I just wanted to see how it worked. It may have been the very first day of school that I checked out an iPad, downloaded the social media apps, and was on it for 6 hours. Yes, it does sound ridiculous, but I was. It continued like that for about 3 to 5 weeks. That's how I spent my free time during the week. On the weekends, I would hang out with my girlfriend because I no longer got to see her every day now that I was away in college. Once I wanted to give up the iPad, it became like an addiction, and I couldn't just stop. I had 5 weeks of reading to do, a test in a few days, and I was unprepared. Of course, I failed the test. I began to have anxiety and doubt about whether I was even supposed to be in college. No one in my immediate or extended family had ever gone to college. I felt as if I was kidding myself being here. I felt as if I was a joke and everyone could see right through me. I had heard how difficult pre-med was, but I had been so naive. Suddenly, I thought about giving up my dream of becoming a doctor. Considering I had procrastinated through basically half of the semester, at this point, I was just playing catch-up. I went to class, and I couldn't comprehend what was happening. I felt so lost and stupid and like I didn't belong here. I was overwhelmed by the amount of work. I missed my family, and I would cry and have emotional breakdowns every Monday and Tuesday because those were the days that the obligations of school really hit me. There used to be this show on ABC called Wipeout, where contestants would go through an obstacle course, and the thing that I found most comical was when a person was running head on, and a big bouncy ball was thrown in their face, and they flipped backwards. That is what college felt like for me. I had amazing intentions, and I was running through, but then it all hit me. Part of me just wanted to drop out. Part of me was just wanted to make a way to make things easier. My worries only got worse from there because I was about halfway through the semester, failing about every quiz and test in my chemistry class. The class was a 4-credit-hour class, and if I didn't get those credits, I would have dropped from 14 credits to 10. Then I would have become a part-time student and lose financial aid that I got as a full-time student. This added to my worries because I had no other way to pay for college. I would have had to drop out at that point. Throughout all of these struggles, I was having weekly appointments with my TRIO advisor, and she was helping me through it. Before, I wasn't listening as I should have been, but now I had to. She then suggested I stopped getting an iPad. As I said, as dumb as it may seem, this technology was going to keep me from passing my class and from graduating on time, so I just stopped cold turkey. She also suggested making a checklist. I previously shared with her that I was aware of the assignments that I needed to do, but they were all in my head. Just thinking about them made everything overwhelming and stressed me out, and was the case of my breakdowns. The day I stopped checking out the iPad, I took her advice. In my head, there were at least 20 things to do, but on paper, there were only 5. I labeled them with A, as needed to be done today, and B, would be good to get done today, but it can wait for tomorrow. I did that and got things done. It was week 8 when I made that change. Things started to look up from there. I began to believe in myself because I found these videos on YouTube by Les Brown, Wayne Dyer, Ray Lewis, Eric Thomas, and others. They motivated me and were exactly what I needed. I was still failing my chem quizzes, but I was failing with a higher score than before. I was improving, and it made me happier. I had stopped hanging out with my girlfriend as much. I stopped using an iPad, and I started using a checklist. I managed to end that class with a C-, which was the minimum requirement for my biology degree. I continued my new habits into the new semester. Now I use my syllabi as checklists and actually do the readings. When I stopped procrastinating, I stopped feeling overwhelmed and stressed. Everything is much better. Looking back through the years, I could have never imagined that I, a Hispanic male from a bad neighborhood who was expected to be dead or in jail, would have been here in college pursuing my dream. College provides an opportunity for me to be someone different, someone better, and I just have to take advantage of it. Focusing on my priorities is how I will do it, and my why is so that I can make the world a better place. As a biology major, a quote by Charles Darwin really resonates with me. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. Everything is hard in the beginning. It's something we have never done before, and no one we know has ever done it before, so we don't know what to expect. No matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, you're going to make it. You just have to reassess your priorities, learn to say no to those things or people that waste your time, and find out your why for being here. Thank you.
Our next reader is Gladys Calderón, reading The Way Out. Gladys is a recent graduate psychology major, and she's currently working at TRIO Upward Bound here on campus. So please join me in welcoming Gladys to the stage.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight. If you have the book, I'm on page 80, so if you want to read with me, you're more than welcome to. The Way Out. Sorry. I wish there was a way to let people know that education can be your way out of almost anything. I grew up in a country in which going to public school meant running the risk of being forced to be in a gang, or as a female, even worse, being abused by a gang. And it just so happens that one of the most dangerous gangs in the world make a home in my country, El Salvador. The earlier years of my parents were doomed because of the war in El Salvador, and they had a rough beginning, making it hard to get back on their feet when my older sister and I came to this world. Nonetheless, they did everything in their power to assure that my sister and I had much better lives than they did, and they spent a large of their portion of their income putting us in a private school. My mother and father knew that there had to be a better life outside of our humble country, and that living in El Salvador may not have been the best way to raise our 2 daughters. So we took an offer my grandma, my dad's mom, gave us. She and my aunts lived in the USA and told us she would bring us over. My dad was a bit skeptical at first, but he asked us if we wanted to go, and of course, my sister, mom, and I said yes. I was only 6 years old, but everyone who doesn't live in the US has their own idea of it. Mine was that everyone in the US had huge, beautiful houses, everyone was nice and had prestigious careers. The US was a fantasy land. The US did not live up to expectations at all. We didn't really bring much, and we had to live with family the first year. We didn't have clothes, and had to go to churches to buy clothes at an extremely cheap price. My grandma called the church JCPenney's because each item at this clothing bank cost cents. I was extremely happy each time we went, though, and the clothes were basically free. We lived in about 3 to 4 houses that year, and they were always crowded with family. We were really poor. I even remember walking around town with my grandma, picking up pop cans so that we could turn them in for extra cash. My first 3 months at school were challenging because I couldn't communicate with anyone, especially about the fears and concerns that I had. In my then 7-year-old mind, I came to the US for better opportunities and to go to college. I didn't know how I was going to be successful, but I knew I was going to be. I was dedicated in my education, and I learned English in months. I fell in love with learning. My dad contributed to this because even at that age, he would make homework assignments that consisted of learning the multiplication tables, reading, and writing. There was even a time when he would pay me a certain amount of money per page that I read. Though my parents had prestigious jobs in El Salvador, they had to start from the bottom here. Their lack in English didn't make it better. And though we had a few resources to help us get accustomed and situated in our new country, we needed certain types of resources that just weren't available. It would have been so helpful to have a financial advisor who spoke Spanish. My parents took any job that was available. They were low-paying jobs that required a lot of physical energy, and they were exhausted by the time they got home. For a while, my dad worked 3rd shift, and we hardly ever had family time. All I wanted was to know what it was like to have dinner with my family, talk about what was going on in our lives and about life in general, and have family game nights like my friends. At an extremely young age, I knew we were poor and that there was no money, so I almost never asked for anything. I even worried with my family about money. As an 8 to 9-year-old, those were my worries. Regardless of the stress at home, there was still love, and I was still able to remain focused on my education. College was my goal since I was 6 years old, so there was no way I wasn't going to reach that goal. I went on to high school and found resources, the most influential being Trio Upper Bound. My parents and I didn't know much about the college application process or college in general, and Upper Bound was such a huge help. In college, I also joined Trio Student Support Services, which was very helpful too, mainly because of my academic advisor and all her support. I'm extremely thankful for my education. Oftentimes I wonder, was it my circumstances that led me to value and pursue education? Was my curiosity and love for learning inborn? Regardless, I am thankful for the drive that I had. Given some of my circumstances, I could have turned to other things. I could have given up, but I didn't. I realized that education was my way out. Today, I am more than happy and grateful for my job as an academic advisor for Trio Upper Bound. Education has allowed me to have amazing opportunities, to meet knowledgeable people, to grow in so many ways, and I want to help other students who share a similar background realize the wonders of education and reach their goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Gladys. Next, we have Emily Salisbury. Emily is a senior. Visual communication and design major, correct? All right, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm remembering all of these off the top of my head, and I have 140 to remember, so occasionally I do slip. Emily also designed the cover of the book that you guys are all holding, and she is going to be reading her story today called Embracing Every Part of You. Please join me in welcoming Emily.
Hi. This is a little ironic. You'll see here in a second. Okay. At my regular Thursday night art class a few semesters ago, something quite bizarre occurred. I was sitting at my table just sketching away when I felt my chest tighten. My heart started beating intensely out of control. I glanced around the room quickly, checking to see if anyone else noticed before I got up and ran to the bathroom. When I got there, I ran past another girl, locked myself in the stall, and grabbed at my raging heart. My breathing rate escalated, and I began to hyperventilate. I felt like my heart was going to explode. After I knew I was finally alone, I left the stall and went over to the sink. I splashed some cold water on my face and wrists and checked my pulse. My heart was beating at an alarming 111 beats per minute. I gripped the sink and stared back at my pale face, while my chest wheezed for air. I was having a full-blown panic attack. More specifically, I was having my first untriggered panic attack. Hi, I'm Emily, and I have GAD, or better known as generalized anxiety disorder. I've only been clinically diagnosed with my anxiety disorder for about 1.5 years now, but I've been living with a milder sense of anxiety my entire life. I've also been known to have panic attacks in the past, but they have always been triggered, which basically just means that my panic is caused by a specific situation. My fall semester of 2015 was the first time in my entire life that I'd ever had an untriggered panic attack, and it terrified me. That entire semester, I had been struggling with my anxiety, and about a week before my incident, I had a sharp pain building in my chest that ultimately led to my panic attack. The fact that it was a surprise absolutely terrified me. Following my incident, I eventually opened up to my Thursday night professor and told him about my intense anxiety. I believe that is the moment when my mindset about my mental disorder changed. One of his most common quotes was along the lines of, "Embrace the stress of this environment. You'll never get another chance to live through this kind of environment again." Those words were really inspiring to me and really made me think about my anxiety and ultimately reevaluate how I thought about it. For my final project in one of my art classes during that semester, I ended up deciding to center my project on my anxiety. I figured it was about time for me to begin embracing my anxiety and learn how to channel it into something good, rather than see it as a crippling issue. During my final critique, I was definitely scared, but I also felt incredibly empowered. I could not hide which piece of artwork was mine, and you know what? I was okay with that. Nowadays, I still don't understand my anxiety fully, but I'm gaining a better understanding of who I am with each difficult task that I accomplish. Before I began embracing my anxiety, I typically stayed away from things that made me uncomfortable for obvious reasons. However, with my new attitude, I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and really got involved with a group on campus called Trio. I'm so thankful that I did because I am finally in a place where other people can accept me for who I am. As a part of Trio, I was even given the incredible opportunity to travel to the beautiful island of Puerto Rico. Even though I felt overwhelmed at times, I was still able to experience Puerto Rican culture through a variety of different ways, ranging from hiking through rainforests to meeting fellow Trio students, just like me. I've been opened up to so many new and exciting opportunities because I pushed myself to overcome my mental disorder. And the Trio people that I have met have been so accepting of who I am. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, you are who you are, and that includes every part of you. It may take time, but learn to embrace who you are, and I promise you things will get better. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Our final student reader that we have tonight is Kristen Costello. Kristen is a senior. She's a hospitality management major, and she also works in our Trio office. So a lot of people know her because she is the friendly first face that everyone sees at the front desk. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Kristen Costello.
Hello. I'm on page 12 if anybody wants to follow along. And excuse me, I'm getting over being sick, so you can't. My voice is, yeah. All right. Asha's parents. Hey, let's go out to eat. The girls. Yeah, where should we go? Asha's parents. How about Mexican? The girls. Sure. I don't have any money to go out to eat. I know they invited me, but I've been saving for almost a year and barely have enough money to stock up on groceries. Going out to eat was always considered a luxury in my family. These were the first thoughts I had the first day I moved into my college dorm. My roommate's parents drove us to the restaurant, and every entree the girls and my roommate's parents ordered was over $10. They acted like it was normal to go out and spend that much money on their meals. Growing up, my family never went out to eat. My brother and I were always taught to cook our own food, and I would often just eat the free food at the restaurant where I worked nearly full-time throughout high school. I was never certain if there was going to be food in the fridge at home. At the end of our meal, my new roommate's parents paid the bill. How could they afford to pay that entire bill? And why would they pay that entire bill? After being accepted to college and making the arrangements to move my entire life to Fort Wayne, Indiana, I got to room with 3 middle-class white females. These females had never been exposed to such diversity in their lives, and now they lived with someone so different from them. Different in the color of their skin, different in the amount of money they came from, and different in where they came from. I felt like I was defined as the broke first-generation Mexican girl from the Chicagoland area. My grandma and grandpa and mom drove me to Fort Wayne, my fresh start. They came upstairs to meet my new roommate's parents, and I could immediately feel the awkwardness and tension. The way we talked, the way we looked, everything about us was different from them. My mother had always been a very outspoken woman, and for some reason that day she barely spoke at all. My grandma and grandpa just didn't really know how to make conversation with those kind of people, the richy white-looking kind of people. After moving all my totes in, my family decided they were heading back to Chicago. I walked them downstairs, gave them hugs, and kissed them goodbye. We waved and told each other we'd keep in touch, and that was it. In my entire 3 years attending IPFW, I've struggled with being an outcast on more than one occasion. After getting more comfortable with my roommates, they began to make subtle comments on the way that I talked or said things. They would refer to me as ghetto. It was funny to them, but to me it wasn't. I don't think they truly knew what that term meant. The way I talked was how the people back home did. It's just how I grew up. They would comment on the way that I said things when I would say, "Isn't it?" instead of "Isn't it?" or "Oh boy, oh girl," instead of the male or female's name I was actually referring to. When the topic of my race would come up, they would always ask why I never spoke Spanish. Not only my roommates, but many other students I met my first year of college. They would say, "But you're Mexican, aren't you supposed to speak Spanish?" Or even more often than not, they would tell me I didn't even look Mexican, I looked Asian. My roommates would share with me how there were only 2 or 3 black people that went to their high school. The neighborhoods I had always lived in were mostly minorities, and I was used to being submerged in diverse cultures growing up. They didn't go to diverse schools or live in the communities with many minorities. One girl's parents would make comments towards Mexicans and blacks, and my roommates would share with me the comments that they had made. It was as if they thought the comments their parents made were funny, but to me it was just racist. So not only did I feel as an outcast because of the color of my skin, the way I talked, and the neighborhoods I had lived in, but what more could possibly make me feel the way that I did? The topic of money. Sometimes the girls would ask me to go out to eat with them or go to the mall, but when I would tell them I didn't have any money to go do stuff like that, they would ask me why I couldn't just ask my family for some money. This is when I began to realize more and more how different I was from these girls and how much more I felt as an outcast. I had finally begun to accept the fact that I was roomed with 3 middle-class white females who never worried about money, who never had an issue with their race or the way they talked, and who never knew what it was like to live amongst minorities. Their parents paid for their tuition, their living expenses, and or their necessities, while I couldn't even ask my mom to send me $5. All 3 of my roommates were fortunate to have both of their parents in their lives. some of which had gone to college. I was the first generation in my family, and my parents got divorced when I was in second grade. My dad gained custody of my brother and I, but had passed when I was just 15. This just was one more thing I felt divided us. They had no understanding of what it was like to have separated parents, nor to lose one of them at an early age. See, differences. Although I felt like an outcast in my freshman year of college, I learned not to focus on the differences between me and my college roommates in a negative way, but in a positive way. You may ask me how that is even possible. Well, I learned to watch the way I talked and made the changes necessary as not to be called ghetto as often as I did the first year. I got a job on campus my second semester so as not to worry so much about my financial situation and focus more on my studies. I may not be able to change the color of my skin or where I came from, but I used my past to progress my future. Being and feeling as an outcast gave me the motivation to change myself. Not for the girls that I roomed with, but for myself. I no longer wanted to be seen as an outcast. I wanted to be seen as an inspirer, as an achiever. I began to get more involved on campus and find ways to submerge myself in more diversity. I joined groups and programs and even became a mentor. I now work full-time and continue to earn a higher GPA than I ever did in high school. If anyone can relate to my story in any way, I just want you to know that you can do it. I am not an outcast. I'm just a little unique, and I am my own person. I came to college to better my life and create a fresh start. I came here to break tradition and to succeed as a first-generation student. For those of you who have ever felt as an outcast, I'm here to tell you it's okay. I was there, but now I'm here. I'm doing it. I'm breaking tradition. I am first generation. Oh God.
You did it.
Thank you. That took a lot of courage for them to get up here and be willing to share such personal experiences. And I hope that it just kind of reiterates that there's a lot more behind the scenes than just earning grades in college for a lot of us. And hopefully we can just learn just to be kind. You don't always know what's going on behind the scenes with a student. But as you can see, there's a lot going on behind the scenes with students. Just as a reminder, we're going to quickly do a panel discussion. We have a few questions, and then we'll invite, if the audience has any questions, they can go ahead and ask those too. So if you guys want to swap out with the panelists right now. After the panel discussion, though, we will, just as a reminder, we'll have books for sale in the back again. If you don't get them here today, or if you're looking for a large quantity or something like that, they will be available on Amazon too. They were up today, so if you're looking for copies, you can order them there. Please feel free after the panel discussion to go ahead and mingle with students. They'll be available to talk to sign books. There's refreshments. Please eat cupcakes. We don't want to take cupcakes back with us. So let me see if I have all my panelists up here. All right, I do. Okay. All right, so first I would like all of my panelists to just very briefly say your name and your major. Can we start on the end with Cherry?
Hello. Oh, okay. Hi guys, my name is Cherry Ong, and I am a human service major. There you go. Okay.
Hello, I'm Amber, and I'm a nursing major.
Hello, Kristen Costello again. I'm a hospitality major.
Hi, I'm Miranda Hall. I'm an art education major.
Hello, I'm Gladys, and I was a psychology major.
Hi, my name is Lorenzo Catalan, and I'm a biology pre-med major.
Hello, I'm Male Collier, and I'm a biology major.
All right. All right, so the first question that we have for our panelists is, what challenges have you faced being first gen here at IPFW? And I'm going to pose that to the group, so if anybody wants to jump in first.
Sure.
All right, Cherry.
Okay. Some challenges that I faced as a first generation student was that I didn't know who I could really communicate with the issues I was going through. Even though my sister did go to college, she had graduated with an associate's degree, but she wasn't around because she had a family of her own at a very young age. I couldn't talk to my mom about anything because she herself didn't know as well. She'd be busy working, and I didn't want to bother her with my school troubles, so I always kept everything to myself. Sorry, it was really hard because I couldn't confide in anyone. I didn't know who I could confide into, and I felt weak. I felt that if I ask for help, that means that I'm weak in that I don't know what I'm doing. But it wasn't until I came to Trio, and even then I felt like I was bothering them all the time. But I realized that they're there for us and to help us. And so even though a lot of the time I was MIA most of the year, whenever I would come, Karen would always help me and guide me in the right direction. So that's the reason why I call her my mom at IPFW, because when I have my mom at home, but she was like my mom here. She always showed me love and compassion, and she never made me feel stupid. She always showed me love, and that I can always appreciate. So Trio is my family away from home, and I'm gonna love them until the very end. So thank you, guys.
All right. All right, anybody else want to talk about challenges that they've faced as a first-gen student at IPFW? All right, John Bell.
I can hold it. So as a first-generation college student, it was tough getting adjusted to college. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew it would be tough, but as a first-generation college student, I didn't know how I was supposed to study, how to budget money, or where to go on campus to like buy books, how I pay for books, or when would my check come in. And so that's what Trio was for. They were very helpful. They have workshops and everything that taught me how to buy, or how I will buy a car in the future, and how to budget my money. And so, yeah, just, it was tough. I didn't know what to do. I was very lost as a college student here, but they helped me, so.
All right, anyone else on stage? All right, we'll go on to the next question. Oh, Amber?
Oh, doesn't matter, I can.
Oh, no, this is your show tonight. Amber?
Okay. You got it. Okay, well, again, hi, I'm Amber. I think some challenges, that we all have faced is mainly that we come in here and we don't know what to expect. My mom worked through college, or she did an online college, from the moment I was born until she actually just graduated a couple years ago. So I've always seen the hard-working side of college, but I've never really seen the living on college and the actual college experience. And I came here thinking it was going to be like a movie and it was going to be so fun, but of course I had roommate troubles and I knew nobody here, and once my roommate left me, I had nobody that I knew here, and I was struggling through my program. I was a pre-nursing student, and it took me 3 attempts to get in, so I was very discouraged, and my family, just kept encouraging me, but at the same time, it was hard because I just had to keep playing catch up, and I felt as if I was just always behind. Like, I could never get out to where I wanted to be, and Trio helped me a lot, and I spent a lot of time crying in their offices. And so I spent a lot of time in there, and they've helped me through so many things, and I really appreciate this on campus.
All right, so our second question, which you guys have already touched on a little bit, but we'll see if anyone else wants to tackle this one, was what helped you persist and succeed despite the challenges that you guys have faced?
What helped me was realizing that you're responsible for your success, because just like these students, at first I felt a bit alone and like an outcast, but once I realized that I was responsible for my success, I started looking for answers and looking for people. I started looking for more Hispanics, people like me, and I eventually ended up being involved with the Hispanic Club and becoming president of it. And so just realizing that you're responsible for your own success and just start looking for answers, start looking for help.
All right, anyone else? All right, I know several of you already touched on that one a little bit in the first one. Let's skip to the next question, which is, what has this book process been like for you all, and what have you learned from it, or how has it affected you?
I think the biggest thing with this process is I really like. I keep listening to all these people's stories, and I know that mine's important, but it's nowhere near what some of these TRIO students have gone through. And I just think the biggest thing for me here is to listen to all these people's stories and just listen to the unique and just how I love powering stories. I really do. Like I said, my mom powering story herself, and I love to see people not bring themselves down because of a thing, but let it build themselves up. And I think a lot of these TRIO students have done that, and that has been the best part of this book, is seeing their experiences and how they've done that.
All right, Jamel?
Jamal,
Go ahead.
For me, this process has been very interesting. I mean, like, in a good way. So I never thought I would get the chance to actually, like, write or be published, and, you know, now we are. And sitting there in those writing groups with them was very inspiring, because you get to hear different perspectives of what other people have been through, you know. And now we have a book out there that is, like, meant for everybody, you know, because every story here is important. Like, it's unique to everyone who comes to college. And so you can read, and you can find something that fits you, and like, oh, they made it through this by doing this, or they went through this and they survived, you know. There's no one story that fits all, and so now there's like several of them in this one book, and you can read it and you can be inspired. And reading all these stories, you will become inspired, because up here, and everybody who wrote the book are all great people, and they're very strong, and, you know, we're making it through college. We're all successful.
All right. Kristen?
This process, I think, at first when you pulled me into your office and said, what do you think of this? I got really excited, because I was like, we have such a diverse group and TRIO, and if a bunch of people participate, we can get our stories out there and inspire other students. Like, you can start off as a freshman or sophomore or junior and have all these obstacles thrown at you, but, you know, our main focus while we're here is to graduate. And I know that it was really hard for me to find a story that really dug down a little bit deep to put my personal stuff out there. And I know I told my mom about the idea, and she was like, I don't want to be in it. Don't say my name. Like, I don't want to be in it. And I was like, but Mom. So I had to change my story a couple times, because my mom was like, I don't want to sound like a bad parent. But other than that, I agree with Jamal. Like, the writing circles leading up to our final essays to put in the book were very, they were inspiring and really informal. And I think the first day we actually got the book, Shubitha let me look at it, and I couldn't put it down. I had to read everybody's story that day. So I think in every story, whoever purchases the book, you'll find like some stuff that'll really hit home for you.
All right, thank you. Lorenzo?
This book process for me has been different. I was very excited at first because I was like, okay, we finally get to tell our stories. Yay, people get to know stuff about us. And then I was like, dang, people get to know stuff about us. And that was kind of scary. And like my family is kind of big on not telling people your business because they think that you're trying to get pity from people. And I heard it while we were in the process of writing these stories and in this circle, that we were even thinking that maybe people would think that we just wanted pity from them. But really, I didn't think that that was the case at all, because I think it's only pity if you don't overcome the challenges or the things that you're struggling with, if you just whine about them and complain about them. But everybody here has overcame the things that they've talked about, and I think that transforms it from pity into inspiration. And that's what this whole book writing process has been for me, is a great process to connect with these other trio students and to know their inspiring stories. And just like we were saying earlier, these stories are unique to us, but these are not very unique stories. Like, there are people who go through things a lot more difficult than what we've gone through, and they will never be heard. And that's very sad and it's very unfortunate, but I think we're the gift that is able to tell you, and so that you can know about these types of things, or maybe one day you'll come across something else that'll inform you. But I think this is a very good opportunity, and I'm blessed to be a part of this project and just to share a little bit of my story. Thank you.
All right, the last question I have for you all. What is the best thing about being a first-generation student at IPFW? All right, Miranda?
All right, hey guys. Okay, so first generation college student, coming here, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? But, oh, that was really loud, sorry. So, but once you get into trio, like my first year, I was kind of like, oh yeah, cool. There's some people, we go on trips, that's cool, you know. But my sophomore year is when I really got involved in trio, and I realized how like much a sense of community it really is. Like, we're literally a fam. I call us a fam all the time. We're like one huge family, and we're here to help you with like no matter what it is. Like all of the Shubitha, Karen, and then Buck when he was with us, sadly. Yeah, there he is. I was like, all of them are here to help us so much, and like honestly, I probably could not have done this. Like, I would have been stressed out, freaking out about everything. So it's nice to know, like, no matter what you're going through, I have a family that'll like be here. I'm going through the process right now of like trying to travel. Lorenzo's my travel buddy. He's trying to figure out like stuff for me. If I need to talk about like having a bad day, Tiffy's always in the office with me and stuff. Yeah. So is Kristen. And Emily and I photo. Where'd she go? Oh, you're over there. You moved. Sorry. Yeah. So like art buddies. I don't know. So it's like everything you need, anything you need. There's always someone there because it's so different. Everyone's so different. So being first generation, it might seem like it sucks at first, but really you're just part of the family. So. Yeah.
All right. All right. Jamel, you're up.
So the best thing about it is that although it's a disadvantage, but you've never been here and you've never heard about it from anybody in your family, so it's a brand new experience. It's like I came to campus and it was like, man, what can I get into? What can I start doing? And so it was like it's a world of opportunities, really. You can go here and like there are many doors that will be open for you, like trio, you know. And so the best thing about it, I would say, is just it's a brand new experience. You don't know what to expect or what you're going to get into. And that's it, really. It's just a good experience.
All right. Cherry?
Okay, I'm gonna try not to cry this time. I'm so sorry from before. I think the best experience that I've had as a first generation student is the fact that I'm just so much more open than I used to be. When I came onto campus, I just saw a bunch of people with their friends and everyone going up to each other like, oh my God, hey girl, and I'm over here like, oh my God, don't talk to me. But I was so desperate, just like, oh, I want to talk to you people, I want to be friends, but I was so closed off. So again, if it wasn't for Trio, I wouldn't be able to meet all my peeps and all of you lovely faces. I wouldn't get to see you guys. I wouldn't get to experience this book. I wouldn't be up here talking right now if it wasn't for Trio, and if it wasn't for kind of just me forcing myself out of my little hermit house that I had on my back. If I'm just finally able to move on from being a shy, timid person to just coming up to you and strike a conversation and be like, hey, you may find me annoying, but I promise you'll like me later.
All right, anyone else? Lorenzo, okay.
Yeah, I think the best thing about being a first-generation college student, which was also kind of the worst thing, is feeling like you fit in nowhere. I felt like that when I first came here, but because of that, I was like, well, I don't have an identity, and I'm not into this like specific thing that I have to do. So I like tried everything, and I think Trio really helped me with that and becoming comfortable with that. And just because I didn't have anybody saying, oh, you're this, so you're gonna do this, and this is the rest of your life. You know, I had nobody to tell me that, and I think that was scary at first, but it's also one of the something I'm very grateful for, because now I've tried so many things that I never thought I'd do, involved in so many other things that I never thought that I would be. And I think it's amazing because I get to set an example for my younger cousins and my little nieces and nephews to go to college. And it was even really cool over the summer. My little cousins were saying how they wanted to go to college, and I don't even think that was really talked about in our family before. But they were like, oh yeah, and because my other cousins who are about the same age as I am also went too. And even my brother is going to college too, which is really cool. But they were talking about it, and like, I don't know, like the idea for them just came so easy, as for me, it was just like very difficult to force. And I think that's what I'm really grateful for as a first generation college student, is to make the idea come very easy to them. And just like it's almost something that you're not really supposed to do, but something that they can do if they chose to. So yeah.
All right, anyone else? All right. Well, again, thank you so much for supporting Trio SSS students. They really are amazing, and they really are an inspiration to work with every day. I can say that I do get up every morning and I come to work, but it doesn't ever feel like work. It always feels like I'm coming to be a part of something much greater, and I'm really humbled by all of them, their willingness to share, and their willingness to go beyond themselves to help others. A lot of them struggle with a lot of serious issues and obstacles, yet they're always willing to help other students going through other obstacles or issues. So again, thank you for coming. We'll have books available for sale. Please eat and drink. And our students will be available if you'd like to speak with any of them or get signatures. Thank you again.